welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. The past 1 week has been very dramatic for Nigeria as far as security goes. On Wednesday, the 21st of March 2018, Nigerian-based terror group Boko Haram sprang a surprise when it dramatically released the Dapchi schoolgirls after holding them hostage for about 1 month. The girls were abducted at their school in the town of Dapchi in the northeast Yobe state on February 19th. There were over 100 girls, and the abduction took the same pattern as the one in the remote town of Chibok in the northeast Borno state in 2014. Up till this very moment, 113 of the Chibok schoolgirls are yet to be released or rescued. Now, in the case of Dapchi, the insurgents drove the girls on their trucks back into the town where they kidnapped them. They even had time to speak to the local people, warning parents not to send their children back to school. Troops that had been guarding the town were ordered to stand down and stay out of sight as part of the deal to return the girls. Of course, it was jubilation galore when parents saw their children. Here is the account of one of the released girls on what actually transpired the day they were abducted.
On the day they came to kidnap us in school, we just suddenly heard gunshots from everywhere. We ran towards the gate when some of them told us they were there to help us and asked us to enter their trucks, which we did. They then drove with us out of the school. At some point, the truck stopped and they asked for those of us that were fasting. We came forward and were given something to eat and drink. We then continued on the journey and got to a point where we stopped again and cooked to eat. The journey continued again until we got to a river, which we crossed on a canoe. On crossing the river, we were kept in a house, and at night, we set out again on a canoe until we got to a place where we were kept until we were finally brought back home. We were not maltreated. We were well fed and not maltreated.
Now, the girl also said 5 of them died while they were being driven away on that fateful day when they were abducted. The girl also said one of them was not released by the terror group because she refused to renounce her religion. Of course, she is a Christian. That, of course, has not been independently confirmed, and the faction of Boko Haram that kidnapped them has not said anything at all. In all, 104 girls actually were released, with 1 other girl and a boy, bringing the total number of persons released to 106, or maybe 107, I should say. But some girls still remain unaccounted for, and it's been a period of agony for their parents. Let's take a listen now to what some of the elders of Dapchi and Chibok had to say on the day the girls were released.
They greet us, they shake us, they snap pictures with us, they ask us to do not run away, and they tell us that do not give your daughters to those army, because they will say that they are the one who will capture them, that they are the one who will rescue them. And they tell us that we just broke them because we are tired and we are seeing them, they are suffering. This is what they told us. I am hereby pleading the militants to see them. We are begging them. All those that they are captured, they are abducting, are not from. They are all from a poor family like us. We are a poor family. So I am pleading them, please let them bring them back to their fathers.
Not only Chibok or Dapchi, we were talking for rescue of all Nigerians who is in the hand of the captors. So we are praying to Mr. President, with this effort, Nigerians will be okay. He can do whatsoever he can do and brought back all Nigerians to be in their positions.
The development, we cannot say anything other than to say thank you to those who have miss or access to negotiate with these people. Or we can even thank the militant for releasing the girl. Because our own, remain 20 days now, they are 4 years exactly in the hand of captors. But this exactly 1 month, because this girl was adopted on 20th February and yesterday was 20th March, just 1 month. So it is welcome. We can even thank the militant for bringing the girls back.
We thank God for bringing back our children. We thank all those who helped. We thank the president who gave us comforting words. May God bless them all.
It's a thing of joy. We thank everyone for their prayers and support. We thank the government and President Muhammadu Buhari, who was here some time ago and promised us our children will be brought back. We thank him for keeping to his words. May God bless him.
We will take a short break now, and when we come back, President Buhari meets the girls. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that ballot.
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues. Welcome back. Now, just hours after they were released, the Dapchi schoolgirls were flown to Abuja for a session with the Department of State Services and then meet with the president. That meeting, of course, happened on Friday, March the 23rd. The girls were brought to the presidential villa where they met an obviously elated President Muhammadu Buhari. But just before we bring you what the president said at the meeting, it's important you take a listen to the Director General of the Department of State Services, Nigeria's Secret Police, as he paints a clear picture of the entire events leading to the release of the girls. It's quite revealing.
GCFR, the Chief of Staff to the President, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Ministers of the Federal Executive Council, members of the National Assembly here present, the service chiefs, our dear Dapchi schoolgirls, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Mr. President, may I formally and respectfully present to you the released Dapchi schoolgirls. I wish to inform Mr. President that 105 out of the 111 female students abducted from Government Girls Science Technical College Dapchi on the 19th of February 2018 were released 2 days ago, following painstaking back-channel dialogue with their abductors. However, before you today, Mr. President, are two additional young primary school pupils, namely Hafsat Haruna, 11 years old, and a primary 6 pupil, and Mala Maina Bukar, 13 years old, also a primary 6 pupil. The remaining 6 Dapchi girls are yet to be accounted for, and dialogue on these students is still ongoing. It may be recalled, Mr. President, that you have given a clear directive to security agencies to use peaceful options to ensure the timely and safe release of the girls. What followed were intense, behind-the-scene dialogue spearheaded by the Department of State Services. The insurgents' only condition was their demands for cessation of hostilities and a temporary ceasefire to enable them to return the girls at the point they picked. They required assurances that the government security forces would keep to this. The exercise was arduous and quite challenging. The sensitivity of the operation and some uncertainties surrounding it, particularly routes to be used, nature of transportation, realization and concern that the girls were not kept at one place, issues of encountering military checkpoints within the theater, and indeed keeping the operation on strictly the principles of need to know, made the whole exercise more complicated. Beyond the release of the abducted girls, Your Excellency, our primary interest for engaging in the dialogue was informed by the following. One, to be able to secure a permanent and possible cessation of hostilities. Two, discussing the fate of arrested insurgents and innocent Nigerian citizens being held hostage. And three, possibility of granting amnesty to repentant insurgents. These presently seem problematic because the insurgents are factionalized while holding various spheres of influence in their guerrilla-controlled enclaves. The negative impact of social media on otherwise classified operations, and of course, some of the utterances of government functionaries who were not competent to comment on the issues pose serious challenges that almost marred the recent rescue efforts. However, despite these challenges, the service has managed to successfully conclude the operation, leading to the release of the abducted girls that are now before you, Mr. President. On the release, or our release, the victims were taken to our medical facility and are put through programs to give them mental stability. As such, they are given psychological and mental evaluation conducted by trained specialists. About 4 were discovered to have broken limbs and were sent for X-ray. Almost all of them, before you, Mr. President, had one skin infection or the other, due to not having or taking their baths for over 1 month. They have been medically examined, and those with ailments were treated. The measures are to ensure that they are in good health. The girls, including 4 representatives of their school, that is the principal and vice principal and 2 representatives of their parents, were brought into the medical facility as part of measures to relieve tension and anxiety. The presence of these representatives have further reassured and stabilized the girls. Mr. President, one of the ways forward in our humble view is, going by the nation's experience through these years of insurgency, it is humbly suggested that efforts be sustained towards 1, ensuring the release of all abducted persons in the Northeast Theater of Operation. 2, improve the strategic plan for safety of schools in vulnerable locations using all available national assets. 3, improve on the coordination efforts among security agencies to avoid future incidents. And 4, expand the current dialogue towards complete mitigation and resolution with a view to getting an everlasting peace for the entire sub-region. In conclusion, Mr. President, the feat so far recorded in the release of the victims is a clear example of collaboration among security agencies. First, let me express our profound appreciation to Mr. President for his direction and maximum support throughout the process of the dialogue. Also, I wish to acknowledge the contributions and sacrifices of the Nigerian Armed Forces and the police, our friendly neighbors and international partners who have played key roles in our determination to rid our beloved country of the menace of terrorism. Once again, may I thank Mr. President for the opportunity to present the recently released Dapchi schoolgirls and reassure you, sir, that the various services will continue to work in tandem to ensure the safety of our schools and other national assets. We remain thankful to you for your continuous support and hereby assure you of our unalloyed loyalty. Thank you, sir.
Now, let's take a listen to what the President had to say.
I'm delighted to formally announce to Nigerians this morning and our international friends and partners that 107 Dapchi students previously abducted have been unconditionally released by their abductors. This sharing and hearty development signifies our commitment to the security and well-being of all Nigerians. We are never in doubt about our focus and direction since the assumption of this administration. Security, anti-corruption, and the revamping of our economy are the main focus of our government. You will recall that on the 14th of this month, I paid a visit to Yobe State, during which I sympathized with the parents, families, government, and people of the state for the tragic abduction of the students of Dapchi. I made a solemn pledge on my word of honor that this administration would do everything possible to ensure the unconditional release of the girls. I further tasked all the appropriate security agencies to safely bring back the girls. We also reached out to our contacts at home and abroad. We embarked on back-channel shuttles with a clear view to bring to end of this tragedy. We entered into negotiations solely to make sure that no single girl was hurt. This strategy paid off as the girls have been released without many incidents. Let me emphasize our administration's commitment to the fight against terrorism and insurgency, and also call on all Nigerians to join in this task. The security services have since been directed to put in place further measures around all schools vulnerable to attacks to ensure the safety of our people, students, and teachers and school workers. I have tasked all the security agencies to work to ensure that we do not witness any reoccurrence of these incidents. Security chiefs have been warned in clear terms that any lapse on their part will be viewed seriously. To the rescued students, we want to assure you, as our daughters, that you will freely live and pursue your dreams in Nigeria for peace and order without fear of violence or molestation. While parents of Dapchi girls rejoice because of the reunion with their children, I want to appeal to the Chibok community never to lose hope or to despair. We are determined, as never before, to bring back our remaining Chibok daughters, and this we must accomplish, and that will be soon by God's grace. While further efforts are being made to secure the release of every abducted student in Nigeria, government is ever ready to accept the unconditional laying down of arms by any member of the Boko Haram group who shows strong commitment in that regard. We are ready to rehabilitate and integrate such repentant members into the larger society. This country has suffered enough of hostility. Government is therefore appealing to all to embrace peace for the overall development of our people and the country. May I also warn against those elements who have chosen to make political fortune of our citizens' misfortune. Government will not tolerate any attempt by any person or group to trivialize or politicize security issues for politically motivated ends. Accordingly, security agencies will not hesitate to decisively deal with such unscrupulous characters. Finally, I thank all Nigerians who, in spite of political differences, prayed and showed solidarity with families of the abducted students during the period of the abduction. This undoubtedly is the Nigerian spirit. We can and should sustain it beyond moments of sorrow. I remain thankful to the international community and our friends who offered varying degrees of assistance during the back-channel communications. May I, on behalf of the government and the people of Nigeria, extend our appreciation to the security agencies for their loyal and tireless efforts in making this day a reality.
All right, I'm now being joined on the line by security expert and retired military officer Colonel Hassan Stanlabo to discuss some of the issues raised by the president in his speech and, of course, that of the Director General of the DSS. Colonel, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start exactly with the account given by the Director General of the DSS. It's one issue that has raised a lot of controversy in this country over the past 1 week. Some people just can't understand why the military stood down and allowed the insurgents to bring the girls into Dapchi town, uninterrupted, dropped the girls there uninterrupted, and they left. And now the DSS director has been painting a clear picture now of what exactly happened. But, it's quite surprising that before now people were arguing over this. Is this standard practice in the security world, so to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Deji. First and foremost, you must understand that when you go negotiating, the terms of the negotiation must be abided by all parties. If that was part of the terms, that one, there should be an operational pause, and two, that there should be a clear route for them to pass through, drop these girls, and withdraw unhindered, uninhibited, fine and good. It was only proper that we keep to the terms of the agreement for the negotiation. More so, do not forget that we are the weaker side as far as the negotiations are concerned. When I say weaker side, we are not coming on board from a position of strength. So, in most cases, or like the situation was, our concern was, look, let's get these girls out complete and safe. So whatever they wanted, unfortunately, we were ready to party. And of course, you would agree with me, that is the best solution. Any other solution outside that might not be having the girls complete. Talking about the best practice or whatever and so on, the best practice as far as negotiations are concerned is for all parties keeping to its own side of the negotiation as far as the terms are concerned. So we just kept to us, and that's all. They insisted they didn't want our military presence, and of course you should know that even if they had not called for that, even if a third party were to deliver these girls, that is to say any international platform, be it the Red Cross or whatever, definitely they would not want the presence of our troops because they would not want to endanger the terms and conditions that have been met or that have been, reached. So, practically, I will agree, yes, that is the best practice. You must keep to the terms of agreement.
The DSS Director General sounded, he sounded a note of optimism that in the whole of this, that this whole thing, that we could actually take advantage of this to negotiate an end to the Boko Haram insurgency altogether, that this whole thing could lead to a cessation of hostilities and a resolution, a permanent resolution to to the Boko Haram insurgency. Do you share that view?
I share that view in total. Okay, it resonates with me comfortably. We could exploit this present situation, which probably, I may say, strikes some understanding on both parties. It could be exploited to further negotiate or discuss the possibility of not just a truce, but more so, we calling off the entire ongoing insurgency. And that is why some of us are in support of the, what do I call it now, the extension of olive branch by Mr. President to the insurgents that, look, come and let's talk. Those who are ready to, give up what is ongoing, we are ready to also grant you some level of amnesty. I think it gives room for us to be able to move beyond where we are now and shift further in our negotiations towards ending the whole thing.
Part of the problem here is that, this is a faction of Boko Haram. And it would appear this faction of Boko Haram seems to be amenable, if you like, to negotiation. You still have that faction led by Abubakar Shekau that is obviously too militant and too deadly. How do you think the government can deal with this? Because, you're negotiating with this group, but then the other group is just not sitting around the table.
Yes, we can do it. And I'll tell you how we can do this. We have individuals, well-respected personalities, who have the ears of this guy. I am not saying that they are sellouts to us, but I'm saying that we have citizens whom they can respect, whom they can listen to. Okay? On both sides. I hope you know the release of these girls was facilitated by some individuals.
Absolutely.
Who assisted us too. Okay? It's no longer secret. On the other side, on the Shekau side, there are individuals, there are Nigerians who they respect. Remember when Shekau's leader was killed, Yusuf? Have you forgotten that some Nigerians played a role in seeing that, some level of understanding was brought to bear even when Yusuf was granted, some relief by the court before eventually our security agents, eliminated him. And after that, do not forget, we have individuals who belong to the CSO, civil security civil organizations, who, of course, have all along during that time been able to assist these guys in one way or the other in ensuring that, look, government does not come too hard on them. After then, the situation had not, escalated to where we have it now. So there are individuals amongst us whom they still feel indebted to for one service or the other that has been rendered in the past. There are people who can talk to and use them to say, look, can you sound off this guy? And from all we can read, even the insurgents themselves are already getting tired of the entire thing. There's some level of fatigue setting in now. If you read the battle very well, there is some level of fatigue already setting in on the parts of the insurgents because they are running out on logistics, supply, they are running out on a lot of things. Some of these children that they are taking is born out of the need to recoup on their means of livelihood. Okay? So we could exploit all this.
Okay, finally, let me ask you, just before I let you go now, do you think these guys may take up the offer now presented to them by the president? I'm talking about the amnesty offer, and then come out later on their arms and just take the offer.
Yeah, well, I think depending on how we go about it. Okay? First and foremost, it should not be an issue that should be in the public domain. The way Nigerians always like our things to be. The government has gone, negotiated, and brought back 110 kids or so for us, and we are busy in public asking government what did they pass it. That's rubbish. Are we more concerned about the material things we are parted with, or we are more concerned about the fact that our girls are back to us alive? And also, what is it we are parting with, which if we had not parted with, politicians wouldn't have stolen in this country? And what is it we have parted with that in the past, politicians have not stolen more than that? So like I'm trying to say, it depends on our approach in the way we present this amnesty thing to them. The entire thing, my brother, should be shrouded in complete secrecy. The need to know should be there. We should be discussing with them and go far in our discussions without those who have no business knowing, as at this stage, knowing. You and I don't need to know. All we want is, look, government, do away with this thing. How you do away with it is entirely your business. Use our national resources at your disposal and see what you can do. And stop the ongoing killings in the Northeast. These guys dying are Nigerians.
Absolutely. I mean, I share that. I share your position as well. Thank you very much, Colonel Hassan Stanlabo, for joining us on the program. We'll take another break now, and when we come back, we will switch to continental trade issues. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
The Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dullards that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that band.
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues.